Your inner speech is the creator of your outer world. This is not simply a motivational idea or a comforting philosophy. It is a fundamental truth of reality. Everything you experience in the external world is a reflection of the conversations you are having within yourself, often unconsciously. The way you speak to yourself, the thoughts you allow to repeat, and the assumptions you quietly accept become the foundation upon which your world is built. Most people do not realize how powerful their internal dialogue truly is. They speak to themselves carelessly, reinforcing identities they claim to want to leave behind. They say things like, "I always mess things up," or "nothing ever works out for me." And then they wonder why life seems to prove them right. But the truth is that your inner dialogue is not just commentary. It is causation. It is not describing your life, it is shaping it. If you continue to rehearse your limitations mentally, you will continue to experience them outwardly. Your inner speech is like a seed planted in the soil of your subconscious. The more you repeat it, the deeper it takes root, and soon it becomes a belief. That belief then influences how you perceive the world, how you behave, what you expect, and ultimately, what you receive. If you constantly tell yourself you're not good enough, not ready, not deserving, then even when opportunities come, you won't see them. Or worse, you'll sabotage them because they conflict with the self-image your inner speech has constructed. To change your life, you must first change the story you are telling yourself. Begin to listen to your thoughts, not as passive background noise, but as creative instructions being sent to your subconscious. Every time you say something about yourself in your mind, ask, "Is this something I want to see made real in my life?" If the answer is no, then reject it. Replace it with something that affirms your vision. Speak as though your dream were already true. Speak as though the person you wish to become is already who you are. You do not need to wait for outer conditions to change before you change your inner talk. In fact, doing so puts the cart before the horse. The world will not give you permission to feel worthy, successful, confident, or loved. You must claim those states within first, and then the outer world will reorganize itself to mirror your new inner state. If you want to see success, start saying to yourself, "I am successful now." Not because the money has come or the title has arrived, but because success begins in consciousness. This is not about delusion. It is about alignment. It is about using your creative power intentionally rather than letting it run wild. The mind is always speaking. The question is, what is it saying? And who is it saying it for? When you take responsibility for your inner dialogue, you take control of your life. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become the author of your experience. Try it for 3 days. For just 3 days, refuse to indulge in negative, limiting, or self-defeating inner talk. Instead, speak life into your desires. If you want love, speak as someone who is already loved. If you want abundance, speak as someone who already feels rich. Do not merely describe your circumstances. Declare your new identity. The subconscious does not argue. It accepts what it is repeatedly told. And once it accepts, it acts, organizing the events of your life to match your dominant belief. The change may be subtle at first, a shift in mood, a small opportunity, a new idea, but it will come. And the more consistent you are with your new inner speech, the more rapidly your world will begin to transform. You will realize that you are not at the mercy of fate or chance. You are not waiting for life to bless you. You are life. You are the creative force, the projector of reality, the voice behind the curtain shaping what the world becomes. Imagination is the only reality. This statement may seem bold, even fantastical at first, but when deeply understood, it reveals the profound truth behind all creation. Everything you see around you, everything you experience, first existed in someone's imagination. The chair you sit on, the home you live in, the phone you hold in your hand, all of these began as an idea, a vision, a picture held in the mind. The outer world is nothing more than a reflection of inner images impressed with feeling and belief. It is not imagination that copies reality, but reality that copies imagination. What you imagine, especially when charged with emotion and persistence, begins to shape the structure of your life. This shaping happens on levels that are invisible to the physical eye, yet as real as the ground beneath your feet. Your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined vividly. It accepts all things that are persistently imagined as fact, and then, through ways and means you could never foresee, it works to bring them into form. This is why your imagination is your most powerful tool, not just as a means of escape, but as the mechanism through which you design your life. If you want to change your world, you must first change the world within. If you continue to imagine failure, struggle, rejection, or disappointment, then those things will repeat, not because they are inevitable, but because they are familiar. Your imagination rehearses your future. It builds the mold into which your reality is poured. Most people use imagination passively and unconsciously. They imagine worst-case scenarios. They rehearse conflicts that haven't happened, relive past wounds, and dwell on outcomes they fear. And then they are surprised when those fears become facts. But this is not fate, it is simply imagination used against itself. When you understand that imagination creates reality, you begin to use it deliberately. You choose to imagine only what you want to experience, and you do so with faith that it must come to pass. To live by imagination is not to deny facts, but to override them. You might be in a difficult situation now. Your bank account might be low, your relationship strained, your career unclear. But if you accept these facts as final, then you have surrendered your creative power. Instead, you must begin to imagine the scene that would imply your problem is already solved. You must enter that scene and feel it as real. See yourself in the new state, not as a distant hope, but as a present condition. Feel the relief, the joy, the peace of already being where you want to be. When you do this consistently, the subconscious mind begins to receive this imagined state as the new truth. It begins to influence your behavior, your decisions, and your opportunities. People, events, and circumstances begin to shift to match the image you've impressed upon your inner world. This is not magic. It is law. The law of consciousness states that your world is yourself pushed out. You are not attracting what you want. You are reflecting what you imagine yourself to be. So if you want to become something different, begin by imagining yourself already being it. Do not wait for evidence. Do not seek permission from the outside world. Go within and see yourself as already possessing that which you desire. Picture it in detail. Hear the conversations you would have. Feel the satisfaction you would feel. Let it become so natural to you that it no longer feels like fiction, but fact. Once your imagination is aligned with your desire, and you persist in that inner vision, outer results must follow. It is not a question of if, it is a question of when. Imagination sets the tone of your vibration. It draws to you the equivalent of what you mentally dwell on. Nothing stands between you and the life you want except the gap between what you imagine and what you assume. To bridge that gap, you must practice the art of living in the end. Think from the desire, not of it. Walk through your day carrying the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Use your imagination not to escape reality, but to create it. Hold fast to your vision, no matter what the outer world suggests, and you will see the truth revealed. Imagination is not secondary to reality. Imagination is reality. The world you experience is merely its echo. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This simple instruction holds within it the key to transforming your life from within. It is not enough to wish, to want, or even to visualize. The true power lies in the assumption, in the feeling that what you desire is already yours. When you assume the state of your fulfilled desire, you no longer place it in the future. You bring it into the now. And what is felt to be true in the present must, by the law of consciousness, become your external experience. Most people live in the constant tension between what they want and what they believe they have. They think about their desires, they talk about them, but they do so from the standpoint of lack. They affirm their dreams while simultaneously feeling the absence of them. This disconnect between thought and feeling is why so many desires go unfulfilled. You must move from thinking as of your desire to thinking from it. That means inhabiting the mental and emotional state of already being, doing, or having what you long for. The moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are no longer chasing your desire. You are living it inwardly. And because the subconscious mind responds only to feeling, it begins to reorganize your reality to match that inner assumption. This is not imagination for entertainment. It is imagination for creation. You are impressing upon your deeper mind a new version of reality, And that mind, which governs all behavior and experience, takes your assumption as truth and sets out to confirm it. It is not about trying to make something happen. It is about accepting that it has already happened in consciousness. This assumption must become your new dwelling place. You return to it again and again, not only when you're alone, but as you walk through your day. You carry the inner conviction that what you desire is a present reality. Your speech, your posture, your reactions. Everything subtly begins to align with this new identity. You stop seeking, striving, or hoping, and instead you rest in the knowing that it is already done. This practice requires faith, not in some external force, but in your own creative nature. It requires discipline, because your senses may still reflect the old state. But if you wait for outer evidence before you change your inner state, you remain stuck in a loop. The change must come first within. The feeling must precede the fact. If you can feel rich, even when the bank account says otherwise, if you can feel loved, even when you appear alone, if you can feel confident, even when your circumstances seem uncertain, then you have tapped into the true power of assumption. Feel it until it becomes natural. Let it become your new normal. Repetition will embed it in your subconscious, and once the subconscious accepts it, your world must rearrange itself to match. That is the law. You may not know how it will unfold, or through what path it will come, but that is not your concern. Your only task is to persist in the feeling, to remain loyal to the new state. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is not a fleeting emotion. It is a sustained inner atmosphere. It is calm, confident, and sure. You no longer look for signs. You no longer try to force outcomes. You know inwardly that all is already well. And from this knowing, all things begin to move. People show up, events unfold, ideas come, opportunities appear. Not because you pushed for them, but because you assumed the state where they already existed. This is the art of living from the end. It is the essence of true creation. Do not confuse wishing with assuming. A wish acknowledges separation. Assumption dissolves it. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you collapse the distance between desire and experience. You merge with the state you seek, and in doing so, you become it. The outer world has no choice but to follow. Persist in the new assumption for 3 days. This is not just a time frame. It is a spiritual challenge, a mental discipline, and a test of your creative power. Anyone can have a good thought for a moment. Anyone can imagine success, love, or abundance for a few seconds. But the power lies not in a single flash of inspiration, but in sustained belief. What you persist in inwardly will harden into fact outwardly. The key word is persist, not visit, not dabble in, but dwell in. To persist in an assumption means to return to it again and again, no matter what the outer world reflects. For 3 days, make it your mission to live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Act as though what you want has already come to pass, not outwardly, through forced behavior, but inwardly through assumption. This is not about pretending or play acting for the world. It's about truly accepting, in your inner sanctuary of consciousness, that the change has already occurred. And during these 3 days, you will be tempted. Old thoughts will come back, doubts will whisper. The evidence of your senses may scream that nothing is happening. But this is precisely when persistence matters most. Most people fail not because their desires are too big, but because their faith is too small. They abandon the new state at the first sign of resistance. They begin to affirm a new belief only to contradict it hours later with worry, self-doubt, or complaint. They move in and out of the desired state like tourists, never choosing to live there long enough for the subconscious to accept it as real. But if you can hold your new assumption consistently for 3 days, without letting opposing thoughts uproot it, you will start to feel a shift. Something subtle will change inside you. You'll begin to see the world differently, and the world will begin to respond differently in return. 3 days may sound short, but in mental terms, it can feel like a long time. You are rewiring your inner world. You are challenging old programming. And every time you choose the new state over the old reaction, you are strengthening a new pattern in your subconscious. Think of it like carving a path through a forest. The first time is hard, the path is unclear. But the more you walk it, the clearer it becomes. Persisting for 3 days is like blazing that trail. It sets the foundation for permanent change. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. You will have moments when you feel doubt. You may catch yourself slipping into old thinking. That's okay. The power lies not in never faltering, but in returning, again and again, to the new state. When you notice you've wandered, gently bring yourself back. Remind yourself, this is who I am now. Speak to yourself with conviction. I have already received it. Let the feeling of the wish fulfilled be your emotional home. Make it your baseline, the place you return to when the world distracts or confuses you. And what will happen after 3 days? You may not see fireworks. The world might not instantly transform. But something essential will have shifted. You will have proven to yourself that you are capable of sustaining a new vibration. You will have weakened the grip of the old story. And very often, things will begin to move, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically. An email, a phone call, a sudden idea, an unexpected meeting. These are not coincidences. They are the natural outworking of your new assumption. Persisting for 3 days is not about forcing the universe. It is about aligning yourself with what you truly desire and refusing to abandon it. It is an act of inner loyalty. You are saying, I choose this new version of myself, and I will remain true to it, no matter what appears before me. And once your subconscious receives this sustained impression, it must externalize it. The outer world will conform to the image you have persistently held within. This is the law, and it does not fail. So take up the challenge. For 3 days, live not as the person who wants the change, but as the person who has already received it. Let your inner world be filled with the confidence, peace, and gratitude of the fulfilled desire. Ignore appearances. Refuse to argue with doubt. And if you persist, you will see the fruits, not because you chased them, but because you chose them within. Disregard the evidence of the senses. This is perhaps one of the most difficult yet essential practices in transforming your life through consciousness. The senses, what you see, hear, touch, and experience in the outer world, are not the creators of reality. They are merely the reflection of past assumptions and old beliefs. If you allow yourself to be dominated by what your senses currently report, you will remain trapped in the cycle of repeating yesterday's reality. True change comes when you refuse to be swayed by appearances and instead hold steadfast to the unseen inner state that you have chosen. Your current circumstances may appear real, permanent, and undeniable. You may see lack, feel loneliness, or witness struggle in your external world. But these are not causes, they are effects. They are the final product of previous states of consciousness that you once assumed to be true. If you continue to believe that what you see is all there is, you unknowingly perpetuate it. You give more energy to the very conditions you wish to escape. The senses are followers, not leaders. They conform to the inner assumptions that are sustained long enough to take root. To disregard the senses is not to deny reality. It is to understand the deeper truth that reality is changeable. It is malleable, shaped by consciousness. When you assume a new state and persist in that inner knowing, even if everything around you contradicts it, you are planting the seed of transformation. That seed must be watered with faith, with imagination, and with persistence. And as you continue to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the old reality begins to dissolve. The outer world, though delayed by time, begins to reorganize to match the new inner state. This is why Neville Goddard taught that faith is loyalty to the unseen reality. It is the ability to feel and live from your desire even when nothing in the physical world supports it. This kind of faith is not blind, it is creative. It sees with the inner eye. It chooses to focus on what will be as if it already is. That is the secret, feeling the end result now, even when the senses say it is impossible. If you are waiting for your senses to validate your assumption before you believe it, then you are putting the cart before the horse. Belief comes first. The senses follow. Disregarding the evidence of the senses means choosing the inner world over the outer one. It means turning away from facts that limit you and affirming truths that empower you. If the bank account says you're broke, but you have assumed abundance within, you do not let the number define your state. You continue to feel prosperous. If you are alone and desire love, you do not dwell on your solitude. You feel connected, desired, and cherished within. This is not foolishness. It is mastery. The outer world bends to those who refuse to bend to it. You must understand that the subconscious mind does not respond to external facts. It responds to internal feeling. If you continue to react emotionally to appearances, you are reinforcing them. But if you can remain unmoved, if you can hold your new inner state regardless of what the senses show, you are declaring to your subconscious that this is your new reality. And once that belief is accepted, the outer conditions must change. They have no choice. The world is yourself pushed out. This discipline requires courage. It requires you to walk by faith and not by sight. It demands that you become more loyal to your vision than to your fears, more committed to your desired state than to your past story. And though it may feel like a battle at first, it becomes easier with practice. The more you choose the inner world over the outer, the more you realize your power. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop fearing circumstances and begin shaping them. Eventually, you'll reach a point where you no longer need the outer world to reassure you. You will feel secure in your imagination, knowing that what you have accepted as true within must come to pass. The senses will catch up. The changes will appear. But they will not be the cause of your joy. They will be the result of it. Because you dared to feel it first in spite of appearances. Because you chose to disregard the evidence of the senses and remain loyal to the unseen. That is the path of transformation. That is the secret of creation. Your inner conversation is creating your outer life. This truth is often overlooked because we are so accustomed to speaking to ourselves without awareness. Yet the words you say internally, the stories you repeat in your mind, and the tone you take with yourself are not harmless thoughts. They are the blueprints of your reality. Every internal dialogue impresses the subconscious mind, and the subconscious in turn projects those impressions outward into your life. The quiet murmurs of your self-talk shape your self-concept, your decisions, your interactions, and ultimately the world you experience. From the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, you are engaged in an internal dialogue. These conversations may be about your job, your body, your finances, your relationships, or your future. They may be supportive or self-defeating. The key is not simply to stop the negative ones, but to consciously choose the conversations you have with yourself. When you understand that your inner speech is causative, you realize the immense creative power you hold every moment of every day. If your inner conversations are filled with doubt, fear, criticism, or limitation, it is no surprise when those themes appear in your external life. You cannot chronically tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," and expect to experience success. You cannot constantly think, "No one ever sees me," and expect to feel valued and loved. The law of consciousness is precise. What you assume and repeat within is exactly what will manifest without. The outer world is simply reflecting the dominant tone of your inner speech. This is not a cause for alarm. It is a call to awaken. Because once you become aware of this mechanism, you can begin to change it. You are not a prisoner of your past thoughts. You can rewrite your inner dialogue at any time. Begin by observing your self-talk. Listen to what you say about yourself when you are under pressure, when you make a mistake, when you dream of something bigger. Are your words kind, hopeful, and empowering? Or are they filled with discouragement, sarcasm, or self-rejection? The moment you catch a limiting inner statement, do not judge yourself. Simply revise it. Speak to yourself as the person you wish to become. Use your imagination to script conversations that affirm your new state. Instead of thinking, "Nothing ever works out for me," say within, "Things are always working out in my favor." Instead of mentally rehearsing conflict or rejection, imagine being praised, appreciated, or embraced. These new conversations may feel strange or untrue at first, but if you persist in them, they will begin to feel natural. And as they become natural, they will become real. Your inner conversations are not just affirmations. They are dialogues that imply who you believe yourself to be. When you walk through your day internally saying, "I'm successful, I'm respected, I am chosen," you are not pretending. You are instructing your subconscious mind to accept this as fact. And the subconscious, which governs 95% of your life, will act upon those instructions. It will draw to you the people, opportunities, and ideas that confirm your new self-concept. This is not hope. This is law. Speak to yourself as if your desire is already fulfilled. Carry on inner conversations with people who congratulate you, admire you, or celebrate your accomplishments. Create those dialogues in your mind and repeat them often. Do not wait for the world to tell you who you are. Tell yourself and let the world echo it back. Most people live as victims of their inner speech. Few realize they are the authors of it. Once you take responsibility for your inner dialogue, you step into the role of creator. This work does not require force. It requires consistency. Just as negative self-talk, when repeated, becomes belief, so too does positive, intentional self-talk. The more you feed your subconscious with words that reflect your desired state, the more naturally those words take root. Eventually, your new inner speech becomes automatic, and when that happens, your life begins to change without effort. You begin to act in new ways, make different choices, attract different outcomes, not because you forced change, but because you became someone new in consciousness. There is nothing more important than what you say to yourself when no one else is listening. Those words are sacred. They are seeds. Speak to yourself as if you were already where you want to be, and the world will mirror that speech in form.